Hello, Canucks fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Canucks Conversation, delivered to you by the great folks at DoorDash.
Ding dong.
Use promo code CONVODD, capital C, capital D's, all one word, CONVODD. That will get 25% off and free delivery on your first order with the DoorDash app. Does not get much better than that, folks. My name is Dave Quadrelli. I'm joined, as always, by the man who built this place, Chris Faber. Our technical producer is Alex Allard, high above Rogers Arena and the SkyTrain, the Expo line.
It's late.
Can you name the SkyTrain lines?
Expo line. You just said that, right?
Yep.
Millennial.
Close.
Millennium.
Yes.
Millennium line. And then the Surrey Connector.
No.
Okay, I don't know.
That third one is called the Canada line.
I made that up.
That's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And then there's the West
What the
Coast
heck's
Express,
going on
which you think is a myth still.
Yeah, I don't think that's an actual
I'm
one.
telling you, me and the hardworking folks of Mission, British Columbia.
All the hardworking folks, yeah, right.
All of the hardworking folks from Mission, British Columbia and the surrounding areas.
People can't see it right now.
Stops in Haney Place and Pitt Meadows.
Yeah. Where's that? Where you guys pick up your butlers?
You wish. Although, have you seen some of those houses in Mission? And that area, like the more east you go,
no.
Huge houses. We used to play baseball out there, and we would the 2018 provincials or something was out there, and we were out there a lot. So we're hanging out in Mission, and you would see these houses, like beautiful, beautiful houses, and then the price tag, they're like selling for $600,000. And I was like, whoa! I know it was 2018 when that happened, but still, it was unbelievable to see houses for that price.
Yeah, well, we're in a recession, I think. Now, I don't follow the news. You know,
Transcendent financial analysis.
Yeah, don't get me started on my politics. I don't know any. They say, oh, I don't like when people talk politics. Well, I don't even know where to start with any of that stuff. So,
how many political parties can you name? Federal political parties.
Like the conservatives, those type of things.
Yeah. How many can you name?
Liberals.
There you go. That's 2.
The NDP.
That's 3.
The Independents.
You should be able to name 4, and the Independents doesn't count. That's not a party. They're independent.
Did I lose? Did I miss one already?
You missed one.
I got
you missed a big one.
Oh, the Green Party.
There you go. Yeah, beautiful. And we're not going to keep going.
They clean up back in my hometown in Nanaimo. That's the Green Party territory. Them on the island there.
Okay.
A couple other parties you're into as well. I know we didn't mention there, but I think there's a couple that you're into.
Yeah, we're gonna stop there.
You 1%ers. You guys got to stick together. I know that much. Hey, before we get going, I got some intro stuff to talk about here.
Sure.
I sent out a tweet last night because, you've been doing a horrible job in general, but also at pushing the Canucks Army YouTube page, because we have our own YouTube page. We talk about it every once in a while on the show. But I was like,
about it all the time.
But I was like, you know what? Last time, I'm like, I'll send out a tweet. I'll just send out a quick tweet to get people to know about the YouTube page. We are approaching 250 subscribers after my tweet yesterday. So
I saw that.
You're welcome. And that'll be brought up in my next meeting where the Nation Network bosses and me yell at each other. So just so we know, that'll be on the docket when we have the next conversation with the big bosses.
It's always very funny because you talk a big game, especially on the show.
Yep.
And then I talk to the people that you're referring to, the big bosses at Nation Network.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody loves you. Like, there's nobody that doesn't like you at the company. You act like you hate everybody. No,
I get along with everybody.
Yeah.
Until I start getting thrown around. No, I don't know. My fiance said this. We were talking about the podcast, and I was like, yeah, I think it's really good. I think the best thing that we do on the podcast is the prospects report. I don't think any other podcast is doing prospects report. And then she said, no, the best thing you do on the podcast, the best thing that I do, apparently, according to her, is play the goddamn victim on the show. And it's probably pretty true. I am pretty good at playing the victim, and I do it often here on the show. But I am not playing the victim here, because we blew up the YouTube page. If you haven't seen it, I always want to say this. I love saying this now that we're on YouTube, and people can maybe just check it out. If you're just listening on the podcast, we post all the hot clips, guest interviews, and just good conversations, whether it's a 2-minute thing or an 11-minute thing. If you ever want to watch it, or just even a prospects report, we're going to have all that stuff up on the YouTube channel for the Canucks Army page. The link's in the description. That's what I wanted to say. For the Canucks Army YouTube page. So if you're watching this live, head over there, give it a subscribe. You can even just watch the clips here and there.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. The other thing that the link is in the description, I'm wearing it again. I know, what is it, 2 times this week I've wore the shirt? It's a beautiful shirt. The EP40 shirts are available on the Nation site as well. Order it now and pray to the Lord that maybe you'll get it before Christmas. I can't make any promises, but pray to the Lord, or
So
blame the NDP for if it doesn't land there before Christmas.
Blame political party of your choice. One of the 4 that Chris named earlier on the show. I just ordered some Nation gear
the Bloc
myself.
Québécois. I forgot about them. Thanks, Corey.
Okay. I just ordered some Nation gear myself, and I'm very excited about it. Although, it is technically, it is Oilers Nation stuff. It is Oilers Nation gear, but I got the blackout toque that says Nation on it, and that's the company. Like, I'm the editor-in-chief of the Nation Network, so I'm allowed to have merch from the company that says Nation, and then there's the Nation Internet Company,
hold on.
which
Alex
is technically
has got the link
Oilers
up here.
Nation.
I need to show that. This is what I wanted to bring up. There is a small person fee that you have to pay on these shirts. Alex, click how much it is for a medium here for the shirts. Medium shirts are cheaper. What? Large shirts are cheaper.
You've got to get out of here.
Extra large shirts are cheaper. Every size is cheaper, but there is a small person fee of $1 if you want to buy a shirt on our Nation Network site.
That's a mistake. That is a mistake.
You wear a small too.
Yeah, that's literally my size.
There's a small person fee on the EP40 shirt that you have to pay, which is $1.
How did you know about it?
Well, I was on it today checking it out.
Against quads.
Yeah, this was I've hacked into the system. Talked to some BCIT computer students. They helped me get into the Nation Network site. But no, I went on there today to look at it, and then I thought, there's a small person fee of $30.
Okay, we're wasting way too much time.
No, the
on this.
link are in description for that as well. I threw that in the YouTube because I do all the work around here, all the prep. You know that I do everything.
Yeah,
there.
so go pick yourself up an EP40 shirt. Let's talk about the Canucks, Chris. The Vancouver Canucks are in San Jose at the time of this recording. We're not going to talk too much about it, but I think we do have to talk about one thing. And that's Big Jack Stud, as Wyatt called him in the Stanchies on Monday night. Jack Studnicka slotting in as the third line center for the Canucks. I love this move, and I'm not loving this move because I think Jack Studnicka is fantastic, and he's going to do a much better job than Sheldon Dries. I love this move for the same reason that I've been talking about basically all season long, where I've been saying stuff like play Jack Rathbone, hell, even Kyle Burrows to some extent, where I'm saying things like, and not really Kyle Burrows to the point that I'm about to make, but where I've been saying, put this guy in because he might have a future with your team. And I'm not saying Sheldon Dries' career is a lost cause or anything like that, but I would say there's probably a better chance that Jack Studnicka, who's a scorer in junior, and as Bruce Boudreau said today, basically just hasn't really gotten many chances to be an offensive creator at the NHL level since junior. He hasn't really had that opportunity. I like my chances of Jack Studnicka developing into a serviceable bottom 6 center. And hey, the Canucks don't have many of those coming in the pipeline, right? We talked about yesterday what this team looks like if they don't have Bo Horvat. Right now, you don't have too much to lose, and you have a lot to gain by potentially playing a guy like Jack Studnicka. I'm not even saying it's going to work out. I'm not saying, I believe in Jack Studnicka's upside. I'm just saying that there is some upside there potentially. And the only way he's going to reach that potential is not by playing fourth line wing. You're putting him in a position to succeed by playing him with Andrei Kuzmenko and Connor Garland tonight.
Yeah, and there was a lot of hype around Jack Studnicka a few years ago as well. He was a pretty highly touted prospect. And he was a center. Like he's been a center a lot of his career. He likes playing the left wing as well. I mentioned that the other day. But yeah, Bruce Boudreau hinted at this yesterday because Sheldon Dries spoke to the media. And, when you speak to a player, you normally ask the coach about it later. Blah, blah, blah. You got a quick story. That's how the sausage is made in our business. But so we're asking Bruce about it. He's like, I'm not even sure if Dries is going to be in the lineup. I'm not sure what the roster will look like. But we are going to see Studnicka play some center tonight. We haven't seen a lot of that. But you brought it up. Like, he's 23 years old. He hasn't really reached his final point just yet, but not a lot of changes to the rest of the lineup. Alex, you can go ahead and pull that up here, the Canucks lines. But Studnicka heading into the middle, I think it's going to be an interesting spot for him. We talked about it yesterday, right? He's a lengthy player. He's got a long reach, and I think him playing center is another guy that you can add to the right shot. And like you said, you don't want him to – he's not going to develop into, being Bo Horvat's replacement likely, but if he develops into being – a solid option on your fourth line who can play center, like you like that, right? That's a good piece to have moving forward once you start to get this team. But to me, it's the process, right? That's what you talked about. It's the process of playing the 23-year-old instead of the 26-year-old because you think that maybe there's something there, something more to grow in that younger player. That's the way I'm looking at it. And things like this, you start to see more little bits like this moving forward. This is the process of saying, hey, we're not trying to just be this year cup or bust. Like, we want to have a couple things that we look down the road for to make this team better. And I think this is a situation like that. And listen, this doesn't move the needle a ton, right? You brought it up. It's not like Studnicka is going to just be absolutely stealing this job, but hey, maybe he looks good in this role. Maybe he looks a lot better playing with very skilled players. It's a similar situation to Brock Besser, right? Like the line that he was playing on that third line, he didn't look good, but now that he's got a passer in Elias Pettersson, he looks better in that part of the lineup. So you're trying to find some things that work, and maybe Studnicka has a little bit more offense to give in a situation like that. Maybe he's a better offensive NHL player than Sheldon Dries, because there's no doubt that Dries is an incredible AHL scorer, right? We saw that last year for everyone who was out there in Abbotsford and had a chance to see him. You never made a trip out there. But Sheldon Dries, he's a hell of a AHL scorer. At the NHL level, I kind of touched on it with him and even asked him this question just the other day of like, what is it about the NHL that makes it a little bit tougher to score? And he's like, at least he's getting the scoring chances, but he does need to bear down a little bit on some of those scoring chances to really start to finish these things. So, yeah, I don't hate the move. Like it's a fine move, I think. And this is coming off of a win as well. Obviously, the defense wasn't as great as you'd like to see, but Dries hasn't been great defensively as well. As like his numbers haven't really stacked up great defensively. So it's not like you're losing a ton. What I feel like on either end of the ice, I think this is just giving a younger guy a shot, which is what this team should be all about right now, giving younger guys shots.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said it, man. You said it. And again, as we take a look at the lines, courtesy of Ben Kuzma, no changes to the lineups. Other
I always
than Dakota
bump
Joshua.
into Kuz on accident. He's always at the end of the press box. Yeah. I feel bad. I bump into him all the time because he's sitting on the edge there.
Is right by the stairs.
Yeah, and I got a big body, so it's like it's
dude.
tough
I
to
even
get
used to
there.
bump into Kuz.
Yeah, well, that's to say if you're bumping into him, sometimes I almost knock him off his chair. All right, Sharks tonight. It's a 1-day road trip down in San Jose. Call it 1 day in San Jose. That should be that would be a pretty good movie. Have you ever seen you know what? I'm not even gonna bring up movies. Because I know I'll go down the rabbit hole. I'm not gonna do it. But 1 day in San Jose, that sounds like a good movie for like Seth Rogen to be the lead on. Anyways, all right. We'll get to start with the Sharks, second worst team in the NHL quad, second worst team in the NHL. They got an 8-16-4 record, 2-7-1 in their last 10 games, being outscored 41-30 in those 10 games. But the two wins that they've had over Montreal, 5-1, and a 4-0 win over Ottawa over the last 10 games. Obviously, Erik Karlsson, as you can see the stats right now if you're on the YouTubes, he is ripping it up. 11 goals, 23 assists this year. Slowed down a little bit over the last little bit here during this losing streak, but he was up to a ridiculous start. And, it's kind of, did you see his interview on Saturday? You don't remember anything from Saturday night, actually. Never mind. He was his good interview on Hockey Night in Canada on Saturday night. He was great and said he's got a lot of hockey left in him. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with his story as the season goes on.
As we just saw there, Matt Benning with 1 goal and 9 assists is the Sharks' second highest scoring defenseman, and Karlsson is 11 goals and 23 assists.
Yeah, Karlsson's playing with like Jacob Megna as his partner as well. So like, Godspeed, brother.
7 assists for Jacob Megna.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You get all those
play
points
with good players.
So yeah, not a lot of offense coming from the back end if your name is not Erik Karlsson, but this Sharks team is not great. You should, if you think this Canucks team is going to be competitive and go on a run, you should be winning this game, 6-2. But the Sharks, they do have, this is why their matchup's so good. I think you brought this up yesterday on the show, saying that they were running at 90% at some point earlier in the season. But right now, their penalty kill, 86.3, top
still
of the
best
NHL.
in the league. Yep.
Like, damn, like, for a team that's second worst in the league, could you imagine if they were just like a middle of the pack penalty kill? At least they have something to rely on.
This goes back to last season too. Like when you watch San Jose kill penalties, it's actually cool to watch them kill penalties. And you know what? Like the Canucks like to move the puck, which is going to help them, but they better be quick moving that puck. They better not make any blind passes, because the Sharks mentality on the penalty kill is basically just full force, go at the opposition every second that they're in the offensive zone. Like they don't really have a box. Their box is always kind of moving, if you know what I mean. Like always pressuring whoever has the puck.
Scott Gordon, he's going to have a job offer from somebody else next year. Assistant coach running that PK over there. He was the coach of their minor league team a few years ago, I think, as well, or a minor league team, Philly's minor league team, I think. But now he's in the NHL. He's probably going to get, you run a PK like that, you're getting a job somewhere.
Speaking of the Phillies, Trey Turner turns down an offer to San Diego. I'm just kidding. We're not going to talk baseball. I was texting you a lot.
So
about
Sharks
baseball.
are the 9th worst team at scoring, 9.8 or 2.89 goals a game. I'll tell you, I'll be 100% honest. I don't think I'm going to be good at reading numbers today. I was up at 3 a.m. watching the Sweden announcement, and we'll get to that eventually. But I am struggling to read what's on my screen in front of me. If I'm being 100% honest, like the numbers are not in line right now, the way that I'm reading them. So 2.89 goals a game is what they scored. They're the 9th worst scoring team. The Canucks, they're sitting at the 23rd in the league for points percentage. Let's just get to our next segment here. I got to get you talking a little bit. This is not going to be, I'm running on like 3 hours of sleep. I woke up and wrote the article too. So this is a bad situation. Thank you, Alex. Blow a bunch of graphics up in front of here. Let's get to what do you do with? I know you love this segment, Quaz, because I prepare questions. I read them off to you. And I don't know if maybe I'll change the graphic a little bit, but I want to use this graphic or idea one. If you have an idea, because I'm asking you for an idea on a situation. I like this graphic too. I worked hard on this one. You pull that up, Alex. We'll get this thing going here with the what do you do with? Quads, are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Brock Boeser with Elias Pettersson. How long do you keep him there? And is Brock Boeser there just to boost the trade value? Or do you think this is actually a long-term thing for Boeser?
Well, you want it to be a long-term thing. Like, he's signed for 3 years, but if he can't outperform that contract, right, or even perform up to it, right, in terms of goals and what he's producing with Elias Pettersson, like if you have better options to play with Elias Pettersson long-term, then no, it's not a long-term thing, right? So again, you have to kind of look at it and avoid having the mentality of, well, let's put him there. Teams are going to want him because he's succeeding with Elias Pettersson and maybe his trade value is higher, but now he's good, so we want to keep him. You have to come to grips with selling off players when teams actually want them. Like, you can't keep this mentality of, it's so weird. Like, we're trying to trade our players that we don't even want and that we think suck, and nobody wants them. Why is that? Like, Tanner Pearson.
It's not the video game where it's just about the players overall. Like, there's a lot of things that go into making a trade with a player. And yeah, you're bringing up a great point of like, run this back for a while here to just show that he can be in that position. I think that's the big thing too. Like, Boeser proving that he can play in that role, because maybe he hasn't had a chance to really prove that this season. I think that's the way the stock has dropped, is because he hasn't been there and done that this season, but he's doing that right now. So that's why I think you keep him there too. Yeah,
absolutely. Like, and Lachlan wrote about this recently at Canucks Army, where you have to, like, it's good process to put Boeser on the wing there. Like, it is, right? And you want to build up his trade value. And what you need to avoid now is just building up his trade value and then saying, well, now teams actually want him and now he's producing for us. We need to keep this guy. And again, like, that could be something you do, but all I'm saying is you just need to have a long-term plan. Like, you just have to have a plan.
It's funny how often does it just come back to the plan?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like, especially with making the right moves, everything just comes back to the right plan. And I think that's still the thing that, we don't have to talk about it every episode, but it's funny how many like roads always just end at the final destination being like, well, what is the plan? Right? Like, that's what it just feels like again. Okay, you want to get to our next one here? Speaking of the plan, this would be a little bit of a long-term, short-term fix. Do you think it's better to keep Luke Schenn and extend him at sub $1 million, or trade him for a 3rd-round pick before the trade deadline? Let me put a little context here.
I don't even need context. I'm keeping him. I'm saying, and again, I know this is a debate online, but that 3rd-round pick, like, I think the only way that I would change my mind is if it's like a high 2nd or a late 1st for Luke Schenn, because then it's just how can you turn that down when you're in the position the Canucks are at, right? But and again, you said extending him for sub $1 million. You got to talk to him and do the Tyler Mott. You got to figure out if he's coming back, and if he's coming back, if the number makes sense for you. Like, if you could get Luke Schenn on Curtis Lazar's contract, right, 3 years at $1 million, and hey, there's a chance that even by the 3rd year he's not really serviceable and you don't really love having him around, but you do that. I think if you're the Canucks right now for sub $1 million, like, that's a guy who can help you with your culture during a retool. And remember, the Quads plan is 3 years. The Quads plan is loading up on assets, but it's also not just, turning a blind eye to the future. And again, in the Quads plan, I want to have guys around who are good leaders. And I think Luke Schenn is one of those guys. Kyle Burrows, same thing. Like, if a team calls and says, we'll give you a 5th round or a 6th round pick for Kyle Burrows, I'm not doing that. Like, if I can keep Kyle Burrows around, I am.
I also think in the current situation that the Canucks are in, there is a ton of weight put on Luke Schenn's shoulders to carry the culture. And I also wonder if at his age, having already won 2 Stanley Cups and knowing what that feeling's like to just be a piece on a team, instead of really having to carry all that weight and deal with all this drama with this organization. I'm curious if Luke Schenn even wants to stay here or go out and be on a winning team. So I don't think it's just either or. And, you know, it's like you either trade him or you get a deal done and extend him. I don't think those are just the only two options.
Yep. You need to talk to Luke Schenn about it.
Yeah. And don't forget, Luke Schenn just turned 33. Like last month, he turned 33. He's not like, you know, I think a lot of people think he's like, you know, a lot of people are like, maybe just think he's like 36 or 37 or even 35. But like, he just turned 33 last month. It just feels like he's been around forever. Because I think he came in at 18, right? With the Leafs, or did he have 1 year junior and then came in?
And Corey Anderson jumped in the chat and made a good point. He said, "Yeah, but you don't know if Luke will come back.
Yeah,
not worth letting anybody walk for anything for nothing. Where this team is absolutely. You need to figure it out. You need to figure it out pre-deadline.
You got to have the Tanner Pearson deal, pretty much. You got to have the deal at the deadline when everyone thought he was going to get traded. Like you need to have it done by then.
Yeah, you need to have it done.
But I mean, that's the thing. Like he plays well with Hughes, and there's likely some good years there. It doesn't look like Luke Schenn is slowing down at a rapid pace like a lot of players do after the age of 30, specifically defensemen. I think because he's adjusted his game, because he's made the changes, I think he's going to be a player that, you know, can play in your lineup for at least 2 more years. Like at least can be in NHL for 2 more years, or at least on a really good team, be an excellent 7th defenseman and a great guy to have in your room.
Yeah.
Like I was at practice yesterday and there's 7 players on the ice. It's all the bottom 6 guys, Kyle Burrows, Christian Wolanin. Who's the guy that rounds out that group? Luke Schenn. He's out there practicing with this team. Like,
and that's
I sat there with Randy. Randeep was the only other media member there chatting with me, and we were chatting about it. And I said, "Man, Luke Schenn doesn't have to be here.
Yep,
he doesn't have to be here out here doing this, but he's out there with those guys, getting a chance to work with the Sedins. Luke Schenn taking face-off advice from Henrik Sedin yesterday. Like it was hilarious.
You never know.
And the funniest thing was, so they're doing these face-off drills, right? This is a fun story. So they're doing these face-off drills. And, you know, it's like, Studnik is going up against Joshua. They're having like their battle. Sheldon Dries in there. They're all battling. It's like good face-offs. And then Luke Schenn and Christian Wolanin hop in. They're like, we want to go for one. Like they want to have a face-off drill. So Henrik's like all excited. Like he's excited. The 2 defense, everyone's like fired up. But you tell the 7 guys are loving it. So this is what happens. The puck gets dropped. Luke Schenn he swings his stick, misses the puck, and then just pushes Christian Wolanin's he knocked his helmet right off. He just pushed him and just throws a fist right into it, knocks Wolanin's helmet right off the ice, and then just Wolanin almost falls over, and then Schenn just moves the puck to the side. It was a fun little thing at practice yesterday. Actually, I was surprised I didn't bring it up yesterday.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd still. I don't think that it's set in stone that he is going to want an extension here.
Exactly.
So I would take a 3rd round pick.
And hey, further to that, if it's Luke Schenn and Luke Schenn saying, you know what, I actually want a 3-year deal at 1.5 to 2 million. Hey, maybe you can get that on the open market. He's been deployed like a first pairing guy. If that's the case, then you got to move him. You got to trade him. And again, as much as I just talked about, okay, well, there's not much culture here, but the fact that Luke Schenn is one of those guys that can help you build that culture through your rebuilding years with the quads plan, you need to make smart hockey decisions at the end of the day. And if you're having to get Luke Schenn for 3 years, 33, like you said, Luke Schenn for 3 years at 2 million, I'm sorry, that's just too much. And I love Luke Schenn. I just talked about him glowingly. And again, he's a guy that if you bring in at a completely buryable cap hit, right? Make it a one-way deal, obviously, so that he's paid the same in the minors in the NHL, but I'm sure he'd like to play in the NHL.
Yeah.
If you can manage that, where you can get him on a contract that, is completely variable, like 1 million or under that for 3 years, I'm totally fine with that.
I don't think that's happening.
Okay.
I have no I think that's a 1% chance that happens.
So what does Luke Schenn get on the open market right now?
1.75 to 2.25, I think.
On a 3-year deal?
On a 2 to 3 year deal, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I think so.
I'd say 2.
Listen,
I don't think 3.
I'm not saying that. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that, he's going to make, if he signs a 2-year deal somewhere, maybe somewhere in the realm of 2.5 million, probably. Right? He's I said, he's not 35. He's 33. You're getting 2 more years of Luke Schenn playing his role.
Well, okay, that's fair. If you think that's what he's getting, and if that's what he's looking at on the open market, then no, the Canucks cannot be a part of that. They have to trade him at the deadline. That's what it comes down to. It's simple hockey decisions. You can't make an emotional decision when it comes to this.
Listen, I think he really liked the idea of coming here when he first signed here for the 2 years. I just think there's been so much put on his shoulders. That's got to be hard to carry, right? That's got to be. And CV's got a good point. Good Branson just got a 4x4.
Yep.
We'll see. Anyways, yeah. And Lisa Luke Schenn always got that dog in him. Absolutely has that dog in him. Okay, let's get to our next one here. Will Colin Delia See, I can't read anything today. Will he get a start in December aside from the back-to-backs, the one back-to-back this month? Can you pull up the December schedule there, Alex? Will Delia get a start aside from this back-to-back that is in this month?
Delia.
Delia, whatever.
I'm going to say no, but ask me in a week after I've seen how Spencer Martin fares in his next 3 starts. Obviously, there's the San Jose game tonight, Minnesota on Saturday, and then on December 14th, they're in Calgary. After those 3 games, ask me the same question, because right now, Spencer Martin's getting all the starts. Colin Delia is going to get that one back-to-back, like you said. But if Spencer Martin has more first periods like he just did in that game against Montreal, and again, I'm sure he's spoken with Ian Clark, and I'm sure he's going to try and get himself back on track. But, there's a lot of the psychological part of being a goaltender, right? And right now he's got the starters workload, and this is the first time in his NHL career that Spencer Martin has the starters workload in the NHL, or hell, even in the AHL, right? Where he's being relied on like this. And, I'm not trying to say that Spencer Martin's mentally weak or that he cracked under pressure or something like that in Montreal, but I'm saying if it becomes I don't even want to use the word habit, but if it happens again, then yeah, you can look at starting Colin Delia, especially when you have those games at the end of the month on the 27th, 29th, and 31st. Like, you can look at that.
Do you think that...
Sorry, do the Canucks play on New Year's Eve?
Yes, they do.
You gotta be kidding me. I have to cancel New Year's Eve plans now.
No, I'm gonna work it. I'm gonna be at that game.
That's fantastic. I didn't want to work.
I'm too old to be going out and...
Well, I was gonna go to a party.
Well, yeah, I know. I bet you were. I heard you last weekend. But yeah, I know you want to get up for your New Year's. You can have New Year's. I'll just work away, because us guys at the bottom, we gotta work so damn hard.
Okay.
Well, you guys at the top are drinking champagne together. But sorry, with Spencer Martin, like it's not just like he has never had a run of games before, right? Like, you look at the 2016-17 season, he played 50 games in the AHL. Okay, like he's gone as a run as a starter. The year after that, he follows it up. He ends up playing 34 games in the AHL, 23 games, 33 games. It was just the last couple of seasons with the way that he started with the Vancouver Canucks, where he wasn't going to be the starter right off the top. Like, he was the third guy there. He also played just a ton of games. He had, look at that. This is crazy. He had 64 starts in the OHL in 2013-14. But that was also the era where like goalies didn't get days off. But 64 starts for him in the OHL. That is a ton of games for a junior right there.
It is, absolutely.
Okay, ready for the next one?
Yes.
How much longer do you leave Vasily Podkolzin down in the AHL? Let me give you the context here. I know you don't like the context here, but I'll give you some good context. Abbotsford has 2 home games this weekend, Friday and Saturday. But then they hit the road on Wednesday for a game on the 14th. Then they have a day off, and then back-to-backs on the 16th and 17th. So 3 games and 4 nights on the road. Then they return home for the games next weekend after that, and they're home all the way until December 30th. So now that you know the schedule there, how much longer do you leave Vasily Podkolzin down in the AHL?
As long as he needs. He hasn't... Like, okay, and Cody Severson, I was editing it, so little inside baseball here. Cody Severson wrote about the recap of the 4-game win streak that Abbotsford's on since Rathbone and Podkolzin have been down there, and I was reading about Podkolzin's game, and obviously Cody watches all the games and he tracks it very closely. With Podkolzin, basically what Cody said was that he's trying to be a bit too much of a playmaker in the AHL. Like, he's not getting shots off. He's not really taking over games the way you would expect. Like, he's playing pretty unselfish hockey, but he needs to be a little bit more selfish in the AHL is kind of what Cody was saying. So, like, I don't think you're in any rush to bring up Podkolzin. And again, like,
I'd love for the coach to tell him, be like, dude, be selfish.
Yeah.
Do you think Podkolzin his whole career has ever been told, like, be selfish? Maybe when he's playing for the World Junior team, but at the same time, he had Valeri Bragin as his coach there for 2 of the 3 seasons that he played at the U20s. Like, nobody ever has probably told Podkolzin, be selfish, trust your skills, and be the dude. I'd love for Jeremy Colleton to do that. So I completely agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see him playing. I want to see him getting a ton of minutes in. I want to see him really taking over the AHL. Like, again, what are you trying to develop Podkolzin into, right? Is it a bottom 6 winger, or is it a guy who can play on any line and really be on your first line, right? Be a top 6 contributor. And I would say it's the latter there. So let him tear up the AHL. And right now he's not doing it, so keep him down there for a bit. I don't think there's any rush to get him up here. Like,
because I was wondering, are they only keeping him here for the 6 home games, and then like when they hit the road for that December 14th, they got 3 games in 4 nights. You probably want to see him play there, but at the same time, do you want to get him back to the NHL for that date? Like, is that the thing? Like, you don't want him traveling with the team?
Do you?
They're
look
going
at
down
this,
to California, by the way, so it's not a crazy travel.
But do you look at this NHL team and say like, well, Podkolzin needs to be in that guy's spot?
Yeah, no,
like,
it's a good point.
Tanner Pearson's going to return. That's going to make it even harder for anybody to get in the lineup because Tanner Pearson has to play in this lineup, obviously. So what, like Nils Amon will come out maybe and Curtis Lazar is going to have to play center?
Yeah.
Like, again, it's just addition by subtraction, and it's going to – I'm just going to come out and say it. It's going to be a little bit too bad for the Canucks when Tanner Pearson returns. Like, I hate to say it. I like Tanner Pearson. I think he's a nice guy. But
it gave me very much vibes of that old meme where it's like, nobody cares you broke your elbow. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'm going to say it. I don't care that you broke your elbow. But what I'm saying is just like the moves I was just praising the team for, like saying like, oh, Jack Studnicka, like at least he has some potential upside. Play him in the bottom 6 role. Like if Jack Studnicka has to come out of the lineup because Tanner Pearson's coming back or whatever it is that this team does to justify why Tanner Pearson has to be in the lineup, I don't think the Canucks are gaining anything in the short or long term. Maybe a little bit more in the short term, admittedly, by playing Tanner Pearson. And again, it's not a knock on Tanner Pearson. It's just where this team is at right now, right? In the current state of this team. And that's what it really comes down to.
All right. I like it. Yeah, I agree with a lot of the AHL stuff there. It's a good thing you edit Cody's articles. Otherwise you'd be in the dark.
I'd have nothing.
All right. How do you cook your nachos? Bake, broil, or bake and then broil?
What is broil?
Come on, man. It's when the heat comes from the top.
Oh no, I bake.
You just bake them?
Yeah, what do you do?
I just broil them.
Maybe I should do that. My oven has a setting. I just never use anything other than
because this has been in the doc for a long time because I put this out on Twitter like a month ago, and everyone was saying the move is to bake and then broil, but then I get all these people who are working in restaurants saying no, it's just broil, and then everyone's like, no, what's going on here, Alex? But then you gotta.
It makes sense
because they said to bake and broil because you warm up the chips, but I don't need the chips to be warm. Like maybe it's nice, but it's not like they're fresh chips. Have you ever had like you go to a spot and it's actually like listen, I learned this like 2 years ago. I had no idea that like tortilla chips are actually just like tortillas cut up into like triangles and then just deep fried. Like that blew me away to have like fresh tortilla chips. Listen, we don't have the fancy stuff back in Nanaimo like they have over here in Vancouver. So to hear that that's how like fresh tortilla chips were, they were excellent the first time I had them. But that's the only time I really need my chips to be like warmed up.
Absolutely.
So I'm fine with just broiling. I just want the cheese to get warm.
My girlfriend's in the chat.
Okay. What's she?
She's calling me out, saying that I microwave, which I do.
Well, I was just about to get to that. Listen,
it's a fine decision.
That's what I'm saying. If it's 11 o'clock at night and you just wrapped up a FIFA game and you're ready to watch, a couple episodes of Jersey Shore, it takes a minute 30 to just put the chips on a plate, lay the cheese down, and microwave it.
She jumped in the chat as soon as I said that I wasn't going to be able to do New Year's Eve anymore.
Well, she's probably jumped in her seat when you didn't know what broil even was. Come on,
I don't know if she
20-something years old.
Yeah, she's the same age. She
All
doesn't
right,
know.
one more food question before we get to World Junior update. As a child, I was thinking about this the other day. What is the best sandwich you used to get in your lunch as a kid? Do you remember like the ultimate recipe? I have mine, so I can start, or you can start if you have yours.
Montreal smoked meat sandwiches are always my favorite.
Well, walk us through the sandwich from bread to bread. What's the way to have it?
Mustard, Montreal smoked meat. That's it.
Okay.
No cheese, just the straight smoked meat.
Huh.
Isn't
so
that
just
the way
mustard,
you're supposed to
just
eat it?
mustard and smoked meat?
Yeah, that's the way you're supposed to eat it.
When I had it in Montreal, it came with a big pickle on the side.
Oh, well, yeah.
Look at that right there. You see a pickle on the side of
Yeah. I like that. I like the big pickle.
Those look like they're from some of the ones in Montreal. Because I actually, you know what? I had one here that I remember I did the DoorDash review, but it didn't make it to the film because I couldn't pronounce the restaurant.
Yeah.
Okay, mine was shout out to
like Schwartz.
Schwartz. I had Schwartz over there, and it was excellent.
I'm gonna have
it looked. Oh yeah, that's right, Alex. Off to Montreal. Be sure to bring some back. Send some in the mail to Quads. Put some pork rinds on it. Mine back in the day. Shout out to the best man of my upcoming wedding here. My buddy Chad. His mom made the best sandwiches back in the day. So I'd sleep over there on school nights all the time. It was what we did. So then I'd get a lunch from her, and this is what it was. It was white bread, old cheddar cheese. Is that what you call it? That doesn't sound good. Old cheddar cheese, thinly sliced cucumber, Miracle Whip, and here's the key: pepper. You got the pepper in the sandwich, really spicy.
I do like that. Okay, you know what else? A little.
What's that?
If you make I do this more in my adult life. for the past couple of years. The ham and cheese sandwich, but you add dill pickle chips to the.
Yeah, you like. I'm not a big chip guy.
Dude,
in the sandwich.
Dill pickle chips. It is life changing adding those to a sandwich because you get a nice crunch. You get a beautiful crunch. You got to try it sometime. I'm telling you. I'll stand by it. It's a good decision. Corey Anderson is in the chat and kind of said he's a trained chef, and it hurts to listen to this.
Oh, sorry, Corey. Well, people were telling me, I work in a restaurant, and I think that nachos at the restaurant are so much better, but maybe that's just that weird, like, I've heard this before, like if you make a sandwich and somebody makes you the exact same one, the one that they make for you is going to taste better because you didn't have to make it. I think that might be the situation with nachos too.
Quickly here, Bill Juan jumped in the chat and said, Quads isn't the best man, #feud. I was expecting to be your best man.
Alex, you're done. Alex, you're done.
Listen, we saw your fiance giving out her invitations to her bridesmaids, right? And she's sending him this big package, this big envelope.
Yeah, Instagram,
the way you asked me to be a groomsman, I'm sitting on your couch and you go, hey, I don't know if I've asked you this yet.
I forgot if I asked you.
I don't know if I've asked you this yet, but do you want to be a groomsman at my wedding? And I said, no, you haven't asked me, but sure, I'll be a groomsman.
Well, that's the thing. What if I asked you and I didn't want the embarrassment of asking you a second time.
No, I'm not. No, honestly, I'm not even complaining. I just think it's really funny how simple it is. And I was like, yeah, sure.
The Botchford folk that they were asking.
Botchford Project.
They asked like, hey, who's your favorite person in Canucks media aside from Quads? And I was like, I see Quads so much. He's like my least favorite person. What are you talking about? and then I said, yeah, no, it's Woodley. Woodley's the worst. Yeah. All right, let's get to the prospects report. Let's get a little World Junior update.
Yeah,
check this
sorry,
out.
I cut you off there.
Yeah, no, pull it up, Alex. We got photos of these two young gents, 18-year-olds. By the way, great news for the Vancouver Canucks prospect system today because these two players, Jonathan Lekkerimaki and Elias Pettersson, both drafted in the most recent draft, the 2022 draft. We were there in Montreal covering it. It was a blast. These two players were drafted. Lekkerimaki was a first-round pick. Elias Pettersson, D-Petey, he was a third-round pick. And they're both 18, right? So they're playing at the World Juniors. They were just selected by Team Sweden to play on the World Junior team. They are also eligible to be in next year's tournament. So basically, you make this team this year, it's all but a lock that they're going to be there next year. So very good news for two of the Vancouver Canucks prospects here. Get an opportunity to play with Sweden and Jonathan Lekkerimaki after battling the concussion stuff. I'll get into that because I did get an update on Jonathan Lekkerimaki. So the concussion that he had, remember that was November 26th was when he took that hit. I heard that on Monday he was back on the ice. So the first time he skated and was back on the ice for practice was Monday. So that's very good news because I thought, with only 3 weeks away after taking that injury before camp, it was still up in the air if he was going to make it, but it was good to hear that the concussion hasn't really been I know people told me not to say a minor concussion or a major concussion, but I mean, this seems like, at least if things are being done the right way over there, which I expect they are, this is a quality organization, Djurgårdens. They're a team that was in the SHL for a long time and well-run, big organization. I don't think they're making little mistakes like this. Like they got him back on the ice on Monday. So he was skating on Monday. That's really good news. And maybe it wasn't as bad as what it could have been. So that's good news in that, right? So yeah, he skated on Monday. He'll be at the camp. The camp starts on December 14th. So both these players are going to be there. You got a defenseman, you got Lekkerimaki. What I expect from Jonathan Lekkerimaki at this tournament is to be on one of the top two scoring lines. He's going to be on the first or second line. He'll be playing right wing. They have some pretty talented wingers that you're going to see at this tournament for Sweden, but I think Lekkerimaki is still going to get an opportunity to be there. I do expect him to be on one of the power play units. I'm not sure if it's going to be first power play unit. Listen, they used him on the first power play unit to start the World Juniors in the summer, but he didn't stay there. Like, he didn't perform. He only had 3 points through 7 games, all 3 being assists at the Summer World Juniors. But he was coming off of mono. I'll give him the excuses at that point. This time, he's got to show up. He's got to show well at this tournament. There's a lot of hype around this kid when he's playing good hockey. This is a time for him to really get that confidence back on track. And I tell you, this is an opportunity for Lekkerimaki to really turn around his season because it hasn't been a good start to the year for him so far. So if he has a good World Juniors, I really think that's going to set him up nice for a second part of the season. And with Elias Pettersson, man, like, what a run he's had since being drafted. Like, he comes in, plays a ton of minutes in the J20 league. We've seen him sometimes at 26, 28 minutes a night for D-Petey. He's been excellent. His shot's kind of really taken a step at the J20 level. And then over the past week, we talked about it on the show just the other day, he's playing about 15 minutes a night in the SHL. That's a huge jump for an 18-year-old, right? So 2 very positive storylines here in the Canucks organization. That's awesome. We love to see it. So I'm glad in this World Junior situation, at least they have 2 bodies. They're not going to have a lot of bodies here at the World Juniors, but at least they have 2. We know that.
Absolutely. And do you have anything else in prospect land? Because you said something about my boy there, Aku.
Yeah, you don't even know what he looks like. But Aku Koskenvuo, so I heard this from a good Finnish source. He's played so well at the international competition that the J20 team has had this season that he is in the running to be the 3rd goaltender for Finland. He has outplayed the other goaltender that could be an option for them. And it's just this, that was not expected because they have 3 highly drafted goaltenders. I should have wrote this down, but they have 3 highly drafted goaltenders. But Koskenvuo has just outplayed the other guy that they were going to use as an option for the 3rd goaltender of the tournament. So he might get an opportunity to go. This is his last chance to play in the World Juniors. He doesn't have another year after this. So I've heard that he's played so well that he does have an opportunity to be there at this camp. But another interesting thing, I hope he goes because I also learned that the goaltending coach for Finland at the World Juniors here, and I tell you what, I'm not great at saying names in the first place. This has been the worst one ever for me. Pekka Rinne. Am I saying that correct?
Yes.
It's just the name I've always struggled with in hockey. Pekka Rinne is the goaltending coach for Finland at the World Juniors, which is very cool. It's also his. What are you laughing about?
The chat.
Okay.
Cody said your Finnish source is Kevin Woodley, and he put umlauts over the O's.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't listen to what Woodley says. This isn't from Woodley. No,
sorry, I totally threw you off.
No, I'm saying it's the first coaching job for Pekka Rinne.
Yes.
So that's cool for him, and I think it would be great for Koskenvuo to even be the 3rd goalie and just be around that situation. I'm sure that Ian Clark, the goaltending coach for the Vancouver Canucks, has a relationship with Pekka Rinne because of Clark's ties back to Finland as well. As well as Marco Terenius, right? That's his name. You know, he's probably got some ties to Rinne. It's like the goaltending world's not that big, right? You know, it's Kevin Woodley and Kevin Woodley, and those are the only 2 guys I know in the goaltending world. But yeah, I think it would be a great. It would still surprise me if Koskenvuo is the 3rd goaltender, but I've heard from someone that he's put himself into a very good spot to be selected as Finland's 3rd goalie. So good news there.
Jeff Rowe made a good point. Connor Bedard will be happy when Pearson comes back.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything else for World Juniors or prospects in general?
Well, with Pettersson, I didn't really mention it, but I think D-Petey is going to be like a 7th, 8th defenseman here. There's only 8 defensemen going for Sweden. I think this is more about him getting an opportunity to just be around the team because he'll be there next year and he'll be playing next year for sure. He'll get minutes in the World Juniors next year for sure. This year, with Lekkerimaki, there should be some expectations for him to produce. And he should be able to put up points, should get time on the power play unit. But for Pettersson, the expectation that I have is if he gets into a game or 2, awesome. And I think that was what we saw at Joni Jurmo, where he was coming in as kind of the 6th, 7th defenseman, ends up playing a ton and moving up the lineup. So if you see that from Pettersson this year with another year of eligibility, you want to see, if he gets into a few games this year, huge win. It's a big win there for him. As a 3rd round pick, hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah. Give me more of that. That's what I said. You were talking about Luke Schenn earlier for a 3rd round pick. You find yourself another Elias Pettersson. Good for the prospect.
Exactly. And that's the thing that I want to make clear about what I was saying earlier.
And I make that joke, but it's maybe you actually go find another Elias Pettersson, get a 3rd one in the organization.
What I really just needed to clarify, because if you can't sign Schenn to an extension, you can't say, well, we need him to hold down the culture for the rest of this season or whatever it is to justify. That's something that the past management regime would do. But so far, this management regime's track record is decent, and it's just Tyler Mott basically, where they say we have to make a non-emotional decision and move on from him. And Tyler Mott was a fan favorite here. You get a 4th round pick. Yeah, it's probably not going to move the needle, but it might. And if you're not going to have the guy sticking around at a cap hit that you are comfortable with, that fits within your plan, and more importantly, the Quad's plan, you got to move on. So again, Luke Schenn for a 5th if he's not going to be re-signing, right?
Exactly.
Figure it out before the deadline. Don't go into the deadline not knowing what you're going to do. You have to have a plan. That's why I don't like these debates that everybody's having about should they trade Schenn or should they re-sign him? If it makes sense to re-sign him, then do it.
Sure.
There's also even, and I know it rarely happens, but there's also the opportunity potentially, because he's already come back once, of trading the guy and then saying, hey, we're going to try and re-sign you in free agency.
Yeah.
If you really want to be here and you want to come at that cap, again, probably not going to happen. But if there's anything
possible, though,
if there's anything that this last management regime taught us, the last one being Benning, and there's a lot there to learn. It's that you don't pay extra for leadership.
That's what Marcus said right there in the chat.
Good on Marcus. Marcus said shouldn't pay a premium for leadership. That's why I keep saying these glue guys like Curtis Lazar, 3 years, $1 million. Kyle Burrows, under $1 million. Luke Schenn, under $1 million. You don't say, we want Luke Schenn to be a leader on this team, so we're going to give him a 3x3 or whatever it is that, this
open market might pay him, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying is it doesn't make any sense. Again, it all comes back to where the Canucks are in the competitive window, and you have to figure that out, make a plan, and make all your moves toward that plan. It doesn't make any sense to pay extra for Luke Schenn. Like, it doesn't. Yeah. And we like Luke Schenn. Everybody likes Luke Schenn.
Some love him, yeah. All right, Betway's in my ear right now. They say it's Betway time.
Go ahead,
Betway,
get it done. I got to get going here.
Quickly, Jeffro comes in the chat here. Quads needs to check out Brodeur's Bistro in Abbotsford for a Canucks game. Oh, don't get me started on Brodeur's. They got the sides that they got like 20-something sides or something, and their Montreal smoked meat's incredible. But Jeffro, I know you know this place as well. If you're out there in Abbey, lose for the chicken wings. Oh,
okay, let's get it going.
Got good stuff. Betway. Start the counter, Knucklehead. Betway bets of the day for Betway. JT Miller or Brock Besser. I like these bets. I like the either ors. You get 2 shots at them over on Betway. Look at that. The logo up there. Betway, 19 plus to play. Bet the responsible way. Betway, everything rhymes. JT Miller or Brock Besser to score a goal in this one. You're getting that at -138 over on Betway right now. So if you bet $10 on Betway, your Betway return on Betway will be $17.27. You put that in your Betway account. You can do whatever you want with it over on Betway. And the other bet, the big one, I like these big ones on Betway. The pre-built Betway bets on Betway. Vancouver Canucks to win the game on Betway. Over 6.5 total goals scored in the game, and Elias Pettersson to score a goal. You're getting that over on a Betway bet right now on Betway at +550 over on Betway.com. Betway. Bet your way hashtag. That's a Betway hashtag. Actually, I've never seen the Betway hashtag before. So you put $10 down on the Betway bet there. $10 will get you 65 back over on Betway right now, and then your Betway account's looking good, and you can bet whatever way you want on Betway.
Okay, enough. 19 plus to play.
That's
we'll wrap
a record,
it up there. Yeah, I think so.
Betway.
We'll wrap it up there. For my co-host Chris Faber and our technical producer Alex Allard, do we see the SkyTrain? My name is David Quadrelli. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Canucks Conversation.
Betway.
Thanks for listening to Canucks Conversation, delivered by DoorDash. Hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode.